Olivia Bennett vanished in the Smoky Ridge Mountains on October 12, 2008. She was 25 years old, worked as a pediatric nurse in a small clinic in Charleston, and had planned to spend the weekend hiking alone on the Maplewood Trail. Olivia grew up in a family of passionate hikers. Her father, Thomas Bennett, was a seasoned climbing instructor, while her mother, Helen, taught biology and regularly took students on nature excursions. Weekends were spent in the mountains, and by 18, Olivia knew the Smoky Ridge trails better than most local guides. After college, Olivia moved to Charleston, but returned to the mountains every month. On October 10, 2008, she finished a long night shift and told her friend Laura Price that she would go hiking. She didn't specify the exact route, only that she'd follow a familiar trail near Whispering Falls. On the morning of October 11th, Olivia packed her green Subaru Outback and left Charleston at 6:30 a.m. Security cameras captured her at 9:15 a.m. at a gas station in the town of Brookhaven, where she filled her tank, bought bottled water, and an energy bar. The cashier, Ethan Monroe, remembered her asking about weather conditions and purchasing extra batteries for her headlamp. By 10:00 a.m., Olivia parked at the Maplewood trailhead, signing the visitor log with a planned return date of Sunday, October 14th. She noted she was hiking alone. The trail was moderately difficult, a round trip of roughly 9 miles, taking 5 to 6 hours. October weather in the mountains was unpredictable, with foggy mornings and afternoon showers. Her last confirmed sighting was by hikers, Mark and Angela Pierce, at 1:45 p.m. on October 12th. They encountered her about a mile from the waterfall overlook. Olivia appeared calm, wearing a dark green jacket, hiking pants, and brown boots. She carried a medium-sized gray backpack. They exchanged greetings and went their separate ways. Olivia didn't return to work on Monday, October 15th. Her supervisor, Linda Marsh, contacted Laura Price, who confirmed Olivia was supposed to be back the night before, but was unreachable by phone. Olivia's parents, Thomas and Helen Bennett, were out of state. Laura went to Olivia's apartment on Tuesday morning. The car was gone, the mailbox full, and neighbors reported no sightings since the weekend. The Charleston police initially hesitated to file a missing person report, citing less than 48 hours since her disappearance. It wasn't until Wednesday, October 17th, that a formal search began. Officer Daniel Harper coordinated with the Smoky Ridge National Park Rangers. Ranger Stephen Cole located Olivia's Subaru at the trailhead. The car was locked. Inside were sunglasses, an empty water bottle, and a few maps. A search team of 10 rangers and volunteers combed the Maplewood Trail, side paths, and ravines within a 2-mile radius. Near the waterfall overlook, they found a wrapper from an energy bar identical to the one Olivia had purchased, but it offered no clear leads. On October 22nd, a volunteer group from neighboring Brooke County, led by Greg Stanton, joined the search. They used tracking dogs, but the scent had been washed away by October rains. By October 28th, Olivia's parents returned and joined the search. Thomas, an experienced hiker, suggested she might have taken a detour to a secluded stream they often visited as children. Despite exhaustive efforts, including a helicopter survey of hard-to-reach areas, no trace of Olivia was found. Temperatures dropped below freezing at night, and the official search was suspended. Detective Clara Mitchell of the Charleston Police took over the case. She interviewed colleagues, neighbors, and friends, who all described Olivia as responsible, cautious, and without conflicts or debts. Phone records revealed mostly work or family calls. One contact stood out, a guide named Ryan Hayes, 28, with whom Olivia had communicated throughout September. He worked for Smoky Ridge Adventures, leading hiking and biking tours in the region. Hayes claimed he met Olivia during a group hike in late August. Their relationship was friendly, with no romantic involvement. When Detective Mitchell checked his alibi for the weekend of October 12-13, Hayes said he led a group to Echo Falls, but company logs showed the tour was canceled due to rain. Confronted, he altered his story, claiming he spent the weekend at home. A search of Hayes's home and truck revealed nothing suspicious except some dirt stains in the trunk. Tests later confirmed the stains were from soil, not blood. With no evidence, he was released, and the case grew cold over the following months. It was the fall of 2015, exactly 10 years after Olivia's disappearance. Local hunters, Ethan and Mark Reynolds, were tracking a deer deep in the Smoky Ridge forests, about 20 meters from the trail where Olivia had last been seen. The deer vanished behind a massive, ancient oak, its roots forming a natural alcove. Ethan, curious, looked under the roots and froze. Human bones, partially covered with soil and leaves, lay there. Nearby, remnants of clothing and a gray backpack were scattered. The dark blue jacket was still identifiable. The brothers immediately called the Charleston police. Detective Clara Mitchell led a team of forensic experts. The remains were carefully documented, photographed, and removed. Dental records confirmed the identity. Olivia Bennett. Her parents were notified. Thomas and Helen, overwhelmed with grief, wanted only to give their daughter a proper burial. Medical examiner Dr. Julia Reed examined the bones and found thin, precise cuts on several ribs and the skull. The hands showed signs of binding with a thin steel wire, wound tightly enough to indicate that Olivia had been restrained for an extended period. Traces of plant-based glue were found on her jacket, forming patterns that suggested a ritualistic purpose. A small wooden carving, resembling a deer, lay next to the skull. It was roughly cut, but skillfully executed. Experts determined the wood had been harvested recently, shortly before Olivia's death. No fingerprints were detected, but the carving was clearly left-handed work. Detective Mitchell revisited the old files. Ryan Hayes, once considered a suspect, now appeared to be a potential victim. His whereabouts during the decade-long gap were unknown. A list of local woodcarvers was compiled. Most had alibis or had moved away, but one man stood out. Walter Green, 44, a left-handed craftsman known for creating intricate carvings from rare maple burl. Neighbors reported that Green vanished around the same time Hayes disappeared. A search warrant was issued for Green's workshop. Inside, investigators found dozens of carvings in the same style as the one near Olivia's remains. Human blood traces were found on one workbench, though DNA testing could not conclusively identify the source. Hairs matching the description of Olivia's hair were discovered nearby. A map of the forest showed several locations marked with red crosses, including the oak tree where Olivia was found, and another spot where Ryan Hayes' abandoned truck had been discovered. Excavation at these marked sites revealed human remains. One adult male, later confirmed as Hayes, and two more victims, one middle-aged man and one young woman. All had suffered the same methodical bindings and cuts. Each site contained a wooden carving in the same left-handed style. Dr. Reed confirmed that all victims had died from slow exsanguination through precise, shallow cuts. Steel wire and plant glue were used consistently, pointing to a serial killer with extensive knowledge of the forest and survival skills. Walter Green was never found. Authorities believe he may have fled or committed suicide. The case was officially closed, with Green identified as a serial killer. Families of the victims finally received closure. Psychologists theorized that Green derived pleasure from the ritualistic aspect of his killings, rather than material gain or sexual motives. The forest remains a place avoided by locals. Tourists steer clear, and the Carver's Woods became synonymous with fear. Olivia Bennett's story serves as a chilling reminder. Even familiar trails can hide unspeakable dangers. Detective Clara Mitchell and her team delved deeper into Walter Green's background, hoping to understand the twisted mind behind the murders. Green had grown up in a remote cabin in the Smoky Ridge forests, learning to hunt and survive from his father, a stern and secretive woodsman. By all accounts, he was an introverted child with a fascination for nature and for carving. Psychologists studying the case concluded that Green's killings were not motivated by money, revenge, or sexual desire. Instead, they suggested that he found satisfaction in control, precision, and the creation of a ritualistic narrative through his victims. Each carving represented the spirit of the victim in his distorted worldview. The patterns of plant-based glue applied to the victim's clothing were consistent. Experts determined that Green used local tree sap, boiled and filtered according to methods known to traditional hunters and foresters, to mark his victims. The glue patterns resembled tribal symbols, or totems, and each design corresponded to the specific carving found beside the body. Green's left-handed technique was evident. Each carving was deliberately primitive in appearance, but required precise skill. He carved animals, deer, bears, birds, each chosen to represent a perceived trait of the victim: innocence, strength, or freedom. These symbols, combined with the careful placement under ancient trees, suggested that Green believed he was releasing or preserving the essence of his victims. Forensic anthropologist Dr. Julia Reed noted that Green had used the same steel wire binding technique on every victim. It was a trap-like restraint, applied gently at first and tightened gradually, designed to prolong life while maintaining total control. Combined with the shallow cuts, this method led to prolonged suffering, which Green may have viewed as part of his ritual. Detective Mitchell reviewed Green's last known activities. Witnesses remembered seeing him disappear from town shortly after Hayes vanished. His workshop, full of half-finished carvings, suggested a sudden and deliberate departure. Experts theorized that Green may have intended to continue his killings elsewhere, or perhaps had taken his own life in isolation. Despite years of investigation, Green's true motives remained elusive. His crimes were a mixture of calculated predation, survivalist skills, and obsessive artistry. The victims, carefully chosen and ritualistically displayed, reflected a mind both meticulous and profoundly disturbed. The forest itself became a silent witness to Green's crimes. Every ancient tree, every hidden alcove, could have held one of his victims. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the Carver, warning hikers to respect the wilderness, but also to fear it. Olivia Bennett's story, and the others discovered alongside her, served as a stark lesson. Evil could hide in plain sight, under the beauty of untouched nature, and in the hands of someone who knew the forest as well as Green did. Detective Clara Mitchell coordinated the final search operations, guided by the map found in Walter Green's workshop. Using a combination of drone surveys, tracking dogs, and local guides, the team systematically explored the marked locations. Over the next 2 months, they recovered the remains of several other victims, each accompanied by a carved wooden figure. The forensic team confirmed that all bodies shared the same method of killing: shallow, precise cuts, binding with steel wire, and placement under tree roots. The rituals were consistent, showing that Green had acted with meticulous planning and knowledge of the wilderness. Despite extensive searches, Walter Green himself was never found. Experts speculated that he may have fled into the deeper forests or perished in isolation, leaving only his grisly legacy behind. The killer's disappearance left many questions unanswered, but it also meant that no new victims would likely emerge. Families of the victims finally received closure. Graves were prepared, and memorials were held in the small towns surrounding the Smoky Ridge forests. Emily Bennett's parents, James and Eleanor, were finally able to lay their daughter to rest. They described a bittersweet sense of relief grief, mingled with gratitude that the truth had been uncovered even years after her disappearance. The case of Walter Green, known in local legend as the Carver, became a cautionary tale. Hikers, hunters, and tourists learned to respect both the beauty and the dangers of the wilderness. Ancient trees, moss-covered trails, and hidden alcoves were no longer just scenery. They were reminders of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface. Detective Mitchell often returned to the forest, walking the trails during quiet mornings. She thought of the victims and the intricate carvings that had marked each site. While justice had been partly served, the story of Green reminded her, and all who heard it, that evil can hide in unexpected places, and that human obsession, when left unchecked, can create horrors unimaginable. As the sun set over the Smoky Ridge Mountains, the forests returned to their serene silence. Leaves rustled in the wind, streams whispered through the rocks, and the wilderness, as always, held its secrets. But the story of Emily Bennett and the other victims endured, a stark reminder that even the most beautiful places can conceal unimaginable tragedy.